Deciding to do an ultra-marathon can be a daunting task, but deciding to do one without any athletic background and having been in a coma for 10 days is even more intimidating. Well, that is the foundation of a new book, Running in Heels by Zoe Scholtz. After returning from holiday with flu-like symptoms, the CFO was rushed to the ICU with a mysterious illness. Her doctors warned her husband that in the unlikely event that she lived, she could be left with brain trauma and incapacitated. That was back in 2015, but by 2019, she completed the Two Oceans Ultramarathon. She joins me now and to share more on this. A very good morning to you, Zoe. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Morning, and thank you for having me.
How did you end up in ICU, Zoe, and needing to do rehab for 6 months?
Well, I picked up a strange virus on holiday. We were in the Kruger camping and I was in perfect health. Came home and I felt a bit like I had flu and paid a few visits to a couple of doctors. And at the last visit to the doctor, she recommended that I should get my blood tested, which I then did. And that same evening, my husband came home and the doctor called him and said, no, I needed to go to hospital. I had a very high infection count. And went to hospital, and very shortly after that, I was moved from emergency to a normal ward and almost straight from there into ICU. So I have no idea where I picked up this virus. It seems it was a viral infection, but it's just amazing how quickly life can change in an instant.
Why did you decide to begin running when you admittedly hated sport as a young person?
Yes, I was a very poor athlete at school, and being in boarding school, I was forced to participate in most sports, running being one of them. School athletics was never my forte. I usually ended almost last. And so part of my rehab was to walk. The reason being that the infection and the illness had an impact on my balance. So I was able to walk backwards really well, but forwards was a big challenge. And to try and compensate for that, I was asked to walk for 30 minutes every day, which I did. And I started actually in winter, which, as you know, on the Highveld is rather chilly.
Yeah.
But every morning I went out and eventually I got bored and I thought, well, maybe I should try and run my route, which didn't go particularly well. I barely made it 150 meters down the road and I thought I was going to die. But I just had this feeling that maybe I could do better. And if I kept on trying, perhaps it would get better. It did take a while, but eventually I was able to run my entire walking route, which probably was just short of 3 kilometers at the time. Currently, I probably can walk that faster than I initially managed to run it, but I was so proud of myself when I'd been able to do the 3 kilometers.
Right.
That I eventually decided, well, maybe I can go a little bit further. And from 3 kilometers, I tried for 5.
Yeah.
And that was more or less when my parkrun journey began. And from parkrun, I just kept on going. I eventually joined a running club. So I ran for Irene. And when I joined the running club, initially my goal was to run a sub-25 5K, which I thought was insanely fast at the time. But I never had aspirations of running any further, really. But when you're surrounded by like-minded runners, I guess one thing led to another, and I started entering 10-kilometer races. Did my first 21 in 2017, my first half marathon. And then my coach sort of suggested, well, maybe you should run a marathon. I thought he was completely nuts. But the idea intrigued me. So, you know, when you're in it, you're in it. So trained for it. And honestly, when we were on the road to that first marathon, I was wondering to myself, what am I doing? I'm never going to finish. I mean, I sort of considered running in terms of parkrun, you know, so like a 10K.
So just picking up from what you're saying now, I mean, you share 10 lessons from running. What are some of these lessons?
So, I mean, I'm a regular person. I'm not an elite athlete by any stretch of the imagination. But running has really taught me a lot of things. So the first one is just make a start. One of the most difficult things for me in this whole journey has just been getting out the door. There's always something easier to do. Make coffee, watch Netflix, clean the house, especially now in times of COVID when we're stuck at home. But just making a start, once you're in it, you just keep on going. The other thing has been that it's I guess in the corporate world, there's this constant drive to improve and be better. And I've really realized that it's not about me. It's really about the people that are part of that journey. So, you toe the starting line and you finish the race and you get the accolades and the medal at the end, but you just can't get there and get through it without your support team.
Sure.
And that's something that's really helped me also in my working world. The other thing is don't quit. I'm a professional at telling myself, well, I'm going to do this great big goal and then, start sort of training. And when I get to my race, and I think, no, I can't do this. So I've had to try and, in my own mind, realize that I'm actually capable of a lot more than I give myself credit for. And I think as a general principle, most people as well. But if you don't try, you'll never know.
Yes.
So I'd rather try and fail than not try at all.
I think I like that. Of all the lessons that you've learned, I think this one appeals more to me, that you need to try. Otherwise, you can never know what you're capable of doing. And how do we connect with you, Zoe, in terms of getting hold of a copy of the book?
So my book is available in the bookstores. I was very excited to see it was in Cape Town Departures Terminal at Exclusive Books.
Okay.
Saw a picture of that the other day. Very exciting. So yes, in the bookstores, it's available on Amazon. And then also if there are inquiries on my website, I also have a Facebook page and an Instagram account, all under Zoe Scholtz. So please, love to hear feedback from the readers. So
it is an absolute must-read, and thank you so much, Zoe, for giving us, words of inspiration, because your story really is an inspirational one. Great chatting to you this morning.
Thank you. Have a super day.
You too. Thanks, Zoe. That was Zoe Scholtz talking to us about her book, Running in Hills. Your sports news starts right now.